Cash. She's probably the best in the industry at that. We're working very closely with her now. Getting ownership means getting taken the property subject to. You will run across deals where you're going to want to do that. My hope is to make sure you understand when it's time to take them subject to, which means you buy the property by taking over the debt without assuming any loans and without putting yourself in any liability position. There are times when you much rather own the property than lease it or lease option it. And you'll learn why and when. Lease options, we're going to very closely cover that because that is pretty much what this control of that ownership is all about. It's either lease options or acts. Lease options going in is what I'm referring to, lease optioning from the seller, leasing it with the right to buy, and then probably subleasing it or assigning it, which is your acts at the bottom of the page. And then options is where we do nothing more than option it for price A and sell it for price B. On the next page, we discuss the definition of acts, which again is a term the Ayanadis created. Now, of course, when they're not in the room, I created it. Just so we're clear. Assigning contracts and terms system. And it has changed this whole business. And it's changed it for the better. It's created opportunities that did not exist in the past. Well, fortunately for you, we are in a very, very small minority of the investors out there right now, so you pretty much got this whole thing to yourself, no matter where you live. And there's just an incredible opportunity here. Now, when you get a for sale by owner sheet filled out by your VA, and it comes to you, you literally have 4 choices, most likely, if it's a FSBO. And we're only dealing with FSBOs here. There's no bank-owned properties being discussed this weekend. That's a whole different side of the business. That's the all-cash business. That's the ugly house side of the business, as we call it. This weekend, we're in the pretty house side of the business, and we're not even covering all of that. Just the part where we control properties, but for the most part, not own them. But you have choices when these things come at you. You can either buy them with owner financing, or you can lease them with the right to sublease it and the option to buy it, or you can take over the debt subject to, or you can option it for all cash with full intent to sell it for a higher price. Those are your 4 choices. And the whole goal this weekend is for you to figure out where to put what and when, and then how to exit from it when we do that. After you do this for a little bit, you'll see how incredibly really easy that is. But I will confess that in the very front end, the first time you're hearing this, it may not be so easy. And I know from working with some folks that it takes a while to get acclimated to it and to really get it figured out. But it's really not that complicated. It does not fit into, usually it fits into one model that stands out, but sometimes there are 2 or 3 different options you have. Sometimes there are none. Sometimes there's only one option. And sometimes there's no options. And that's another thing. We got to learn how to know when it's time to fold them and not hold them. Some deals, many deals, are going to come at you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do with them. And the best thing you can do is ignore it, move on, and quit trying to put a square peg in a round hole. All right, on page 8, what do you need to do business, where will it work, and how do you make money? How do you make money is going to be quite obvious to you over this entire session. What you need to do business is nothing more than you've already got. You don't have to go out and find anything, buy anything. You do not need to make a trip to Office Depot and stock up your office at home. Frankly, you don't even hardly need an office at home. But you do need a telephone, that's for sure. You are going to need some paperwork, which is right on your Gold Club site, where you can go pull it off. So therefore, you're going to need access to a computer, or your VA is one of the 2. And obviously, just the normal things that you need to get through life for the most part. Where will it work? It works in every city in the United States and every province in Canada. That's where it works. There are no places it does not work. So the next time you get on one of those mindless chat rooms and people start trying to tell you it doesn't work here for some stupid reason they heard that has been passed down 12 times through the gossip circles, it works everywhere in the United States. And sometimes there are going to be changes that are necessary, except for example, Texas. Anybody here from Texas? Okay? In Texas, I cannot put a lease option tenant buyer in the house and collect a non-refundable deposit. So I simply change it from a lease option to an AITD, all-inclusive trust deed. I buy it with owner financing, I sell it with owner financing, or I agree to buy it with owner financing, and I assign that contract so my buyer can buy it with owner financing. We adopt and we overcome. We adapt and we overcome. We don't let anybody tell us we can't do business because somebody told me you couldn't do it here. Just remember, the broke people are always trying to teach you how to be rich. They are not qualified, they are clueless, and they have no knowledge of what they're talking about for the most part. They just spread gossip. And if you don't believe that, just attend some of the forums and chat rooms. And now, oh my God, I can't even stand to go on these things. Every time I do, what? Get a life. You know, is this what you got nothing better to do with your time than sit around and mindless chatter like this? Wow. Okay, so it works everywhere. You're going to make money, preferably money going in, money monthly, and money later. In acts, not true. In acts, you're going to get one check and you're done, just like a wholesale or a retail for cash out deal. And by the way, guys, our goal is not to do acts deals. Acts deals are not what we want to do. Acts deals are deals we do when there's no other thing we can do to get more money out of the deal than assign the contract to an owner-occupant type buyer. Acts is not our goal. It's only the byproduct of the particular project we're working on because we can't fit it into a mold where we get multiple paydays. Okay, on page 9, I'm going to go through some examples of the types of deals that you're going to run across. And before we get through today, we're going to have scripts to ask the right questions when these situations present themselves. And then we're going to have objections to when sellers and buyers, in those weird cases, actually come back at you with a question. You'll have the answers ready. In example 1, seller has very little or no equity. If the seller has very little or no equity, well, let's look at it. Seller calls you with a house in good condition, worth $200,000, the loan balance is $210,000, with a payment of $1,580 per month, 27 years left on the loan. The seller's getting a divorce and leaving town, but he's credit conscious and won't need the house until the loan's paid off, but knows he's over leveraged. He's asking $210,000, which is his loan balance, obviously, and your offer is to simply lease option it for what he owes. And in this case, this is clearly an axe deal because he's over leveraged. Now let's start right here, and let me see if I can't start conditioning your mind to make sure you are thinking these things through. Now listen to this. If I've got a $210,000 loan, only $200,000 house, guys, and I've got a very low payment to where I think I can get a nice monthly spread putting a lease option tenant buyer in the house, should I get out or should I stay in? The answer is, it is entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you. In this case, I have a $1,580 payment. Is that a low payment or a high payment? Low. That's a high payment, isn't it? So if I have no equity and I have no monthly spread, is my choice real easy? Find somebody I can plug into this deal, get an assignment fee, and get out. There's no reason for me to stay. If I stay, I'm either getting a bunch of equity or a good monthly spread, or I have no reason to stay. Are we clear? Hello? Don't be throwing away properties that are over leveraged just because they're over leveraged. In this particular example, I'm throwing it away. I'm not throwing it away. I'm exiting it. ACTS. You're either going to exit ACTS or you're going to exit AXIT. In this case, we're going to ACTS it because I feel we can find a tenant buyer who will gladly come in with a $5,000 to $10,000 assignment fee for me to assign my lease option agreement to them, let them walk in, and let them make payments directly to the seller. I'm out, I'm done, and these two are married until it's over. Does everybody understand how simple an axe deal is? I put it on a contract on a lease purchase for the loan balance, which declines monthly, and I assign that contract to my tenant buyer. They take over my position, and that's why I'm getting my assignment fee of $7,500 in this example. And I hope you, right there you can begin to see why these things are so easy. They're so easy. I'm going to get a contract signed, and I'm going to sign it to somebody else. The attorney's going to close it. I'm out. I get my check. No repairs, no money, no time delays, no short sales, no bags, no nothing. I'm getting in, I'm getting out. That's why we can do 2, 3, 4 weeks. As long as you keep the lead flow coming, and somebody will have to get these contracts signed. All right, you got enough. You can leave now. All right, in example 2. Seller has considerable equity and debt. And this is one where you do not want to get out. Over on the left, previous page, when I said you get out, I didn't mean you walk away from the deal. I mean you assign the contract and you get out of the deal. That's what I meant. On this page, we're not going to get out. We're going to stay in it. Seller calls you with a house worth $200 in good condition, but this time the loan balance is only $172,000 with a $1,210 a month payment. He's being transferred out of town in 2 weeks and hates the thought of listing with a realtor or has already tried it. He's asking $190 and wants someone to get a new loan. Of course, don't they all want somebody to get a new loan and cash them out? Yep, they do. And I want to lose 40 pounds. So they're asking, it's a $200 value. They're asking $190 and he owes $172. You're all very simple. I'll lease option the property for $180. Not giving you $190. Guys, when they got equity like that and you know they want out, they're leaving, there's no reason to give them full price. At least try to negotiate them down some. The reality is, I probably lease option for the loan balance, $172. But in my example, I'm giving them a little money later. If I lease option it for $180, are they getting paid now or later? Later. But what are they getting now? Debt relief, which is really what they want. My monthly payment will equal their monthly payment. It's clear. It's going to be right in my agreement. We're going to cover all of that. My rent will equal your payment. Your payment goes up, my rent goes up. Payment goes down, my rent goes down. Whatever it is until our term is over. Therefore, you're covered. But I'm not going to start making payments for at least 60 days. And in this case, $1,000 deposit. I never give a deposit on a lease purchase. Frankly, I don't even know why I put that in there. I just don't. And neither should you. You don't need to give a deposit. And of course, I'm going to negotiate this so that my purchase price is not $180. Now, watch this. This is very important. You get this. Whenever I lease option it from a seller, I'm never going to lease option it for a fixed number. My lease option purchase price is going to be $8,000 plus the loan balance at the time I purchase. I'm going to give that a minute to sink in. Where did $8,000 come from? It came from the difference between the $172 they owe and the $180 I promised them. See, they're not getting $180, they're getting $8 because they owe $172. So my purchase price is going to be $8,000 plus the loan balance at the time I purchase. So if I purchase this property 5 years from now, will I owe a lot less than $172? Yes. So my purchase price is that loan balance plus $8,000. And I just simply put it back on the market. Back on the market for $205 on a lease purchase. And $10,000, is it pretty easy to get a $10,000 non-refundable deposit on a nice $200,000 house in a nice neighborhood? Yes or yes? In fact, it's pretty easy to get more. Guys, I'm getting $10,000, $15,000 deposits on $90,000 houses in not so nice of a neighborhood. That's the marketplace you're in right now. Well, you know it or not. If you quit, listen to the whiners and the belly achers who advertise to all the broke people and wonder why they can't get any deposits. People who can walk into a nice, beautiful home in a nice neighborhood will come up with money. Of course, not all of them, but you only need one occupant per house. And the amount of money that they can come up with will determine who that occupant is. We're going to cover all that tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you right now, the nicer your house, the bigger your deposit. So maybe that makes a case for you to be in the nice stuff, in the control without ownership business, contrary to the bank-owned properties. The bank-owned properties, I'm going to get down there low because my return on my investment is a lot larger on the cheap houses than it is on more expensive ones if I'm paying cash. However, in the pretty house business, I want to get up there in the nice stuff. If I'm living in an area like Jacksonville, Florida, where I can go out and buy a bank-owned property, pretty decent house in a pretty decent neighborhood that would retail for $100,000. Of course, it used to be $160 a few years ago. That's the cash properties. On the other hand, I can go out in the city and find multi-million-dollar properties as well. My sweet spot for the pretty house business here is somewhere between $150,000 and $500,000. And frankly, the $300,000 and $400,000 houses appeal to me much more than $150,000 houses for one very important reason. What do you think it is? Big, fat deposit checks. I can get great, big checks from those gorgeous houses. How many $400,000 houses are there where you live where somebody can walk in and lease purchase from the seller and just walk in and take possession of the house and then get the kind of deal we're going to offer them, not bidding? So, two different parts of the business. Ugly house business, cheap stuff. Pretty house business, not so cheap stuff. And when we get to it, we're going to figure out how to target what we want. So in this case right here, I'm putting it right back on the market, lease option, to get a $10,000 deposit immediately. I'm going to get $1,500 a month coming in for rent. I am paying out $1,210, so I get a monthly cash flow. Now, why did I choose to stay in this one? Not because I get a monthly cash flow and I get some equity. That's why I chose it. It's a nice house. It's a nice neighborhood. It's easy to occupy if it becomes vacant again. If this tenant moves out, they lose their 10. I've got another 10 in there. I get another 10 or 15,000. It's a cash machine till I die. I'm going to lease option it from the seller, and then I'm going to sublease it to a tenant buyer with the option to buy. If they cash me out, I'll just take the money and go cry to the bank and go get another house. Not with the money, but I'll go get another house to replace it. If they kill the golden goose, I'll just go get another goose. So I'm not, if they cash me out. So this is a good example of one of the thousands of houses out there that you get your hands on. It's a free asset. Somebody drops in your lap. They give you $18,000 worth of equity. They give you a monthly cash flow without any risk on your part, no investment on your part, no credit on your part. And you take that asset, you turn it into cash now, cash monthly, and cash later because of what you know. And guys, these are the ones you want. These are the ones you want. Who likes the term residual income? You like to keep on getting paid for doing the job once? Me too. Me too. And this is how you build yourself an empire. Some moron coined the phrase quick turn. There is quick turn where you get out, you get your check, and you run. In fact, that's what we're doing with axe deals, aren't we? Quick turn creates immediate cash flow. However, it does not create any future revenue. It does not create any stability. It does not create the ability to stop working. This does. You get a whole bunch of these in your portfolio. Next thing you know, you got $20,000 a month positive cash flow coming in. By the way, tenant buyer is responsible for 100% of the repairs on this house. It's all in the contract. You don't have to do any repairs. So it's a beautiful cash flow machine. Most people just don't have a clue about. All right, next. House has been cleared, but the seller has indicated on the property information sheet that they will owner finance. And we're going to cover all of that. Property information sheet is new. It's on your book website. It's in your book. And it clearly asks the question to free and clear houses. What has the seller told you? They will owner finance, or at least they will talk about it. Okay? Then you have to get on the phone. Don't try to let your VAs do this because they'll make a mess of it. This is when you get on the phone. When When you get one that says yes, and you get on the phone and ask them, we got scripts in here for it, what kind of terms do you have in mind, and see if you can come to an arrangement on terms. Now get this. Here's my goal. If I find a property that the seller's willing to owner finance, I have two objectives on my mind. Number one, I want to get in light with little or nothing down. Why? Because when I put it back into the marketplace, my big front-end cash payday comes from the difference between what I can get from a lease option deposit for my tenant buyer and what I give that seller. So if I give that seller too much money, I give away my front-end profit. Secondly, I want that monthly payment to be low, 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 low. And that's what I love about free and clear houses. I can negotiate low payments, no interest payments, and really sweet terms. Those are my two objectives. My main objective is not to steal a house. The price is of the three things. Price is the least important to me above down payment and monthly payment. When I get a low monthly payment, I can create a massive spread per month. When I can get that payment with no interest, I can create a quick pay down on that property. And when I can get in with little or no money, I can create a huge pile of cash coming in on the front end a few days after I take control of the property. I love free and clear houses. I love them. They're a business within the business. But they scare most people simply because they do not know what to ask or what their objective is. My objective is simple. Get some sweetheart terms. Now, if I can't get sweetheart terms, then I'm going to have to create whatever terms I can with the intention now of passing them on to an owner-occupant buyer and get out of it because there's no reason for me to stay in. So I'm really shooting for a deal I want to stay in. But if I can't pull it off, then I'll shoot for a deal that I can pass on and still get a big check. In example 3, it's a $200,000 house in good condition with no mortgage. And after questioning, you learn you can buy for $185 with 5 down and $800 a month payment. Okay, when you see $800 a month payment on a $200,000 house, what do you know? They ain't prying this one out of my dead hand. I'm keeping this one. This is a keeper from the word go. A keeper. I see at least an $800 a month positive cash flow on this property, and maybe more if you get good installed tenant buyers, like we discussed tomorrow. With $5,000 down on a $200,000 house, I see a nice, immediate upfront cash hit, because I know that's good for at least a $15,000 non-refundable deposit from a tenant buyer. So I simply negotiate the purchase for $800 a month until paid, which means there's no interest, and $5,000 down, put it on the market for $210, and get a non-refundable deposit of $15,000 and $1,500 a month rent. Very simple. So I've got a $700 cash flow, $10,000 profit up front, back end money coming in when if they buy, and $800 for the first month's rent, because I always give myself several months before my payment begins, and I usually install a tenant buyer in the first month, so I get to keep the rent that I collect in the first month and sometimes the second month before my payment begins. That's just another little payday I've learned to negotiate into the deal, and you will too after you go give up to 2 or 3 of them. Example 4, the seller will finance, but they're a pain in the ass. They will owner finance, but they want $20,000 down, and they want $1,250 a month for their payment. And I know I'm not writing no check for $20 grand to buy a $200,000 house, not even with owner financing. And I know that with $1,250 going out, I might get a monthly spread, but it would be kind of minimal. Therefore, I make the decision that this one just doesn't have enough in it for me to get really excited about. Now, could I stay in it? And could you? Your decision. There is some monthly spread there, but there's no upfront cash, that's for sure, because you're going to be hard pressed to get. Well, there might be. You might be able to get. In fact, we're counting on it. If we do an axe deal on this thing, we're going to put it back on the market. Somebody's going to bring in us $10,000 more. They're going to bring in $30,000 down to take over a $1,250 a month payment at 4% interest. It says at the top. So I decided that there's just not enough for me to want to stay in this deal. I'm going to put it under contract for $185 with 20 down at $1,250 a month with payments beginning in 3 months at 4% interest. Then I'm going to go put it out on the marketplace as a sale, an owner-occupant sale, not a lease option. Because if I've got it under contract to buy it with owner financing, remember, that's the contract I'm assigning to my buyer. So now they can come in and buy it from me with $30,000 cash and take over the position I'm in. 10 of which will go to me, 20 of which will go to the seller. Does everybody understand that? Hello? Okay. If you don't understand it, you don't raise your hand, I'm going to assume you do. Now, am I going to have a little harder time finding a buyer with $30,000, of course, than I would with less money? So I don't know for sure I'm going to exit this property. So what is my risk if I don't? When do I have to start making payments on this one on page 12? The answer is never. I'm not agreeing to make payments. I'm going into this deal clearly disclosing that I'm going to buy this property and I'm going to find a buyer you approve, Mr. Seller, that will give me more than what I'm offering to give you, and if you accept them, we're going to close. I'm going to sign my contract with them. Buyer, seller's going to know that, guys. I'm keeping that a secret. So the seller is going to know that we are not closing until I find that buyer. Period. Whatever I get, and you get $20,000 down. And you'll find those very easy to negotiate. But no risk on your part. No risk on your part. Now, you'll notice in here that I negotiated that the first payment is due in 3 months. You decide what happens to those payments. Because you negotiated that the first payment is due in 3 months. You may be able to collect it from the buyer and keep it after the deal is closed. If the seller does not do it, or I'll tell you what I do with it. I negotiate, once I find my buyer, I negotiate that the seller take less than $20,000 now, give it me more, and let them start making payments immediately to them. Okay, next page. Example 5. We'll use the same house, $200,000 house, excellent condition in a lovely neighborhood, except this time our seller just can't imagine somebody living in the house until they've cashed out of it. Yet they do have equity in it because the debt on it is only $160, because they're asking $160,000. It doesn't make any difference whether they owe $160 or whether it's free and clear. They're asking $160, knowing, but it's cash, knowing that it's worth $200. All right, you're going to just, oh, that's right, they have $72,000 loan balance. It's right there in front of me. Okay, all you need to know is, though, that they want $160 and the house worth $200. You have to then decide, is there enough in that thing to make me want to option it? And I'll tell you what will influence that decision. That decision will be greatly influenced if you listen to what you were taught yesterday by the internet folks that were up here all day and learn how to drive traffic in massive herds, and you got this great big buyers list. If you got this great big buyers list and you got people that can qualify for a loan in the area where this house is and they're aching to get in there, then you're going to obviously be really thrilled to option this property for $160 because you probably got a buyer lined up for $200. And when it's all said and done, you might net $30,000 out of that deal. Why not? Your risk when you option a property is the amount of your deposit, which never exceeds $100, and usually that's because it came from your IRA. Your IRA needs to put up $100 to option the property. Is this a great deal for your IRA to do? Let your IRA option it for $160, then you go sell it for your IRA. Here comes $30,000 plus profit into your IRA for a $100 investment. Your IRA options the property, puts up a $100 deposit because that's what equity trust requires. And then when the property sells, the profit comes into your IRA, tax-free forever. Here comes $30,000 back with a $100 investment. Try to explain that one to your accountant. Try to explain that one to the guys on Wall Street. Tied up a $200,000 house with $100 and I got $30,000 back, then I don't have to pay taxes on it. Try to explain that one to all of the talking heads on all the chat rooms. And get all the reasons why it can't be done back. But in case of options, you've got to decide whether there's enough in it to make you want to go get that cash buyer. And of course, the more of those cash buyers you have hanging around on your buyer's list, the easier it becomes. Nikki, if I don't get some coffee up here, I'm going to have to stop. She says, I don't care. Just your mind, Nikki, because it's not that difficult to read it. Ooh. All right. Example 6. High-priced houses, option and later convert to terms. I just want to put this in here because I want you guys to open up your minds a little bit. Just here's what I love about the world of BizBos, guys. This is the greatest part about it. Thank you, ma'am. What'd you put in it? Look at this, a third of a cup. I keep telling her, VAs are cheaper. Anytime you create a deal with a human being, you can go change that deal later if that human being and you agree. And if it's in both parties' best interest, don't forget that. No deal you create with a seller is ironclad. It's not like dealing with a bank. In this example on page 14, where what we're doing is a high-priced option. And, just for the record, if you're going to do options, if I were you, do the ones you can get 6 figures on. They're no harder to sell than the ones you get 5 figures on. Go into higher price properties.